Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ron HD. So yeah, this is going to be a great time. Hey guys, welcome back to the episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm Ron HD, and this week we watched the last voyage of the Demeter. And if you don't know, this is a Dracula film. It's all about Dracula, specifically one chapter in Bram Stoker's Dracula, where Dracula takes a voyage unknowingly of the crew from Romania to London. And they stretched this short chapter into a full 2-hour movie, which I'm fine with, but overall, I thought this movie was alright. I enjoyed it. I thought there were some spooky moments, there was some nice Dracula, like, killing people and stuff, but overall, I did have a couple problems with that. But before I go on a little rant here, I'll tell you why I thought this film was pretty good, and more, back at the house.
He is here. We call him Dracula.
He's coming! Did you see the size of that bloody thing? I'm gonna kill the cursed thing.
He is on this ship, which means that we will never leave it.
The devil is real. May God have mercy on us all.
Hey guys, welcome back to an episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm Russell HD, and this week we watched the last voyage of the Demeter, which it is based on a chapter of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Specifically, I think it was chapter 7, I believe, or a section of chapter 7, where Dracula is on the Demeter. He's like, cargo in the Demeter, where Dracula takes a voyage from Transylvania to London. And, during that trip, he kills the crew one by one on the ship, eventually taking down the captain last and leaving no survivors, because vampire, Dracula, pretty good. And, but obviously, I've read that this is a very, very brief part of this chapter, and it is so brief that is barely mentioned in some summaries of the story. Which, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting idea, having a bit of, like, a mid-quel going on here for Dracula, which I like the idea of, what happened on the ship. What did Dracula do? How did he kill these guys? And I like that idea, but I think, actually, this was a problem I had during watching the movie, and I'm not going to talk about this the whole time, because after realizing, I'm sure you are all familiar with the character Renfield. So, in the Bela Lugosi version of Dracula, the universal classic Dracula, on this also very short scene in the movie, not a very long scene, Dracula, he is on the ship with Renfield, who I'm sure you are all familiar with. And, he's the one who opens the box that Dracula's in to let him, have him go out and, feed and eat, kill the other sailors. But in the book, Renfield is not on the Demeter. He's not on that ship. It's just Dracula. Which, I guess, yeah, that makes sense. I guess that makes sense. But in the movie version, the Universal Classic version, it makes sense for that version of the movie for Renfield to be here. But I was kind of, mad because I like Renfield. I like him. I think he's a good addition. But he wasn't in this movie, and I didn't originally know that this was not based on the Bela Lugosi Universal Classics Dracula. This is based on the book, or, more accurate, or attempting to be more accurate to, the original version of Dracula, which I can respect, and yeah, I do think, from what I've read, this does seem somewhat accurate, aside from the obvious, there was no survivors, and, well, spoiler warning, big spoiler warning here, there's a survivor at the end of the movie. I mean, in the original, like, Bela Lugosi, I guess you could count Renfield, but not really. But yeah, overall, I found this film to be okay. It was pretty good. I didn't really have any huge issues with it. I think there were some, like, there's, like, one or two, like, goofy moments that, like, were supposed to be serious, but I just kind of, like, I didn't, like, laugh out loud. I just kind of, like, laughed a little bit, or I, like, giggled at it. But yeah, I'll get into that in my little plot summary, or maybe afterwards. But yeah, overall, I found the film to be enjoyable. It was like a slasher film with Dracula. I think that's pretty cool. You know, like vampire Dracula slasher film, pretty good. I just really think that, you know, I like the idea of a slasher film with Dracula. I mean, I want more like slasher films with like universal classic monsters. You know, like that'd be cool. Like, you know, what about like a slasher film with Frankenstein's monster or something? That would be cool. I mean, he could totally do it. He's Frankenstein's monster. Look at the guy. But, like, honestly, I just think that it's a really cool idea, and I think it's executed pretty well, in my opinion. I think, you know, he slowly picks them off one by one, you know, or, like, two at a time. And, you know, he's, like, driving the crew mad, you know, and then, like, the crew is starting to kind of get suspicious, and they're turning on each other. You know, and eventually, Dracula makes it to London, you know. And, mentioning that part of getting to London, well, let's get in a very short plot summary. Now, this film is not very complicated. So basically, there's a crew on the Demeter. The Demeter has a crew. They have cargo, and they need to get to London. They need to get from one place to another, and in the middle of that, they start getting picked off one by one. Their livestock is all killed, and, you know, they're starting to slowly go insane. There's this mysterious girl that is in one of the crates. And then eventually, by the end of the movie, the girl, like, the remaining members of the Demeter are in a last-ditch effort to, you know, get rid of Dracula and get off the ship. They try to sink the ship with Dracula on it, so that he stays stranded at sea and is never able to get to London. Obviously, this doesn't work, and a lot of them are killed, and only one survives, and that is the main character, like, doctor character. And by the end of the movie, he kind of becomes like a Van Helsing type, I suppose. You know, he's like the vampire hunter. You know, him and Dracula are going to play, like, a bit of a cat and mouse game. You know, at the end, like, because Dracula near the end nearly kills him, and he, like, scratches his neck with, like, his long nails. And Dracula, and one more thing that I like at the end, probably one of my favorite bits of the movie, Dracula looks like Nosferatu. I like that. I like the Nosferatu appreciation. I need to watch Nosferatu. I really want to watch it. But anyway, yeah. At the end, he, like, kind of, like, he bangs his cane on the ground to get the doctor guy's attention. He totally did it to get his attention. And he kind of, like, tips his hat a little bit at the end. And he, like, kind of, as he walks past him, he kind of scrapes his finger across his wound. And he's like, yeah, bitch, I gave that to you. And, like, it's going to be a bit of, like, a, you know, they're, like, rivals now, which I think is cool. But it kind of looks like they were setting up for a sequel. Unfortunately, I don't think there will be a sequel because, you know, one, I don't think this film didn't really do very well, and two, it's also got some pretty mixed reviews online. People are kind of iffy about it, so I don't think this film will get a sequel, which I personally think is unfortunate because I think it would have been cool to see, you know, like a fully developed Dracula going around London, killing people. I think that would have been cool. You know, maybe like another slasher film with Dracula, but this time Dracula's like in London killing people. I think that would be really cool. But whatever, it's fun, I guess. I think a gripe I have with this film, it's not that big of a gripe, but I do think, as I mentioned earlier, there are some like two funny moments in the movie that I don't think were supposed to be funny. Not even funny. They're like some like goofy moments in the movie that weren't supposed to be. So basically, there's a scene where a character is dying or like they're burning and they're like on the ship, and the captain, he's like, he liked this character, he liked this guy, and he was like, good relations with this character. Liked him. Good friends with him. And he's like, no. Like, he goes like that. Like, you know in most movies when they do that dramatic shot, they go, no. Like, it's like in slow-mo, too. But he literally goes like that. Like, it just seemed kind of goofy, you know, and kind of weird and abrupt. Like, it was kind of weird. And I didn't laugh out loud, like, super loud, but I just kind of, like, let off a little giggle, because it was kind of goofy. And then there was another one where I think it was Abrams, the Irish character, who lasted a lot longer than I thought he would, by the way. But he gets killed by Dracula because they're, like, trying to do a plan to, like, get the ship out and, you know, escape. And he falls over a balcony, or no, he, like, Dracula, like, there's a rope, and Dracula kind of pulls the rope and drags him off. And Dracula kind of, like, as he's falling midair, Dracula hits him, and he just splats onto the fucking... He, like, splats onto the sails, and it's just, like, it's like a fucking Looney Tunes bit. Like, the blood is, like, in the shape of how he splatted. It's, like, fucking rated R Looney Tunes. It's great. And, of course, the fucking Irish character goes out like a cartoon. But anyway... Yeah, those are, like, a little bit of nitpicks and a little bit of pet peeves. Not really, like, main problems, but, like, little gripes I had here and there. Even though some of them were kind of funny, others were, you know, whatever. I don't know if I wish the movie was more serious. While I was fine with this, like, kind of goofy tone, I do kind of wish it was a little more atmospheric, dark, moody, you know. Maybe even the film could have been black and white, you know, in a certain aspect ratio. But, yeah, I do think the film could have benefited from a more moody and atmospheric tone, especially with its horror, because, you know, I'm a big psychological horror fan, atmosphere fan, huge fan of atmosphere. That's how you do real horrors, with atmosphere and build-up. This film, I think, kind of relied... I mean, there was atmosphere here and there. It mainly relied on the tried and true jump scares and all that bullshit. You know, jump scares and loud noises. That's kind of the scares in this movie, you know, bubbled down to. What's it called? Is that the phrase?
Bubbled down? Usually it's boiled down.
Boiled down, sorry. Boiled down, too. But yeah. I think it could have done better with a more atmospheric tone. But that's just me. And, yeah. I think... would I recommend this film? Well, personally, if you're a fan of Dracula, fan of vampires, you probably get a pretty good kick out of this movie. I think you'd enjoy it. If you're a fan of the book, you know, probably enjoy it too. Maybe, if you like that certain section from that one chapter. But, yeah. I would recommend this film for, you know, horror fans, you know, vampire fans, Dracula fans. But, overall, for, like, just average, everyday, casual viewers, I don't know. I don't know if you'd get that much enjoyment out of it if you didn't have enough context, or if you weren't a huge fan of Dracula or vampires. I don't know. I think, it's up to you. This is what I'll say. It's up to you. If you think you'd like it, then go out and watch it. But yeah, if you're a fan of those things, you should go out and watch it. I think you'd get some enjoyment. But now, the rating. I think I'd give this film a 7 out of 10. That is my official rating. Think of something to say. Think of something in peace. So guys, hope you liked this video. Be sure to friend, subscribe, notifications on. Comment down below how much you liked it. But you guys know how this goes. I didn't mean to say that. What I really meant to say was, if you guys hated this video, unsubscribe, dislike, and hate me in the comments. Runtime HD. Signing off. Oh shit, I really felt like I was gonna mention something.
You should mention it then.
I can't remember what it was. That really bugs me. I really felt like I was gonna talk about something.